Good evening, everyone. Let's just bring that down. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Q&A with BroDiallo, our Wednesday evening Q&A. I appreciate everyone that got the memo about us moving up 2 hours to accommodate time zones and whatnot and so on and so forth. So I'm going to bring Seun live. You ready, Seun? Can you hear me? I'm going to bring him on. Let's see. There you go. All right. So I'm sure everyone's familiar with the format. Hey, what's up, bro?
Yeah, perfect. Well, I think I'm gonna need headphones for this. I might need headphones for this because I can barely hear you. Give me a second.
All right. If you have any audio problems, please just let me know. And we'll try to troubleshoot them. Anyway, while he's going to get headphones, just letting everyone know who is new to the stream. We have questions, comments, and criticisms on various topics. We do have a central issue or topic for the night, but of course, as y'all don't listen to me ever, y'all can ask questions ranging from whatever your interests are. If we have the capacity to answer, we will. But if we don't, we'll see if we can suss it out, or we'll just put it in our notes and engage the issue next week, maybe. Where's my notepad? Oh, here it is. Sorry, I got to get a notepad too. Just give me 1 second. I'll put some beats on for y'all. Give us 1 second. Always love to take notes, and I encourage you guys to take notes as well because it's going to be a lot of insights. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me brag on myself. More African World Order merch. Save the rainforest, abolish capitalism. So, hope y'all like the designs. It's one of my own designs. So, shout out to me. But we can get going. Chauncey's back. What's up, Chauncey? Been missing you. Shout out to all my moderators. Again, still? We had 2 haters already? Don't be so hard. We love a little bit of hate.
Yo,
motivate.
You gotta carry on without these headphones for now. Let me give them like 5 minutes to charge.
Okay. Can you hear me? I can speak a little louder.
I can hear you, but you just really low.
Oh, I wonder why that is. Let me check the volume on my side, and then we can get going. Nope, I'm at 100% on my end. All right, but so I'll try to speak up. I can hear you just fine. So if you can just adjust.
I can hear you. You're just really faint.
All right. So
we alpha males. As an alpha male, you need to have a booming voice.
Yeah,
people need to hear you from across the room.
I know. I had a listener who's told me who listened to my radio program, and her son overheard her listening to me, and he said that I sound like a white man. So I don't know. I'll work on that.
I think I do too.
That's the first time I've ever been told that in my entire life. About a year or 2 ago. So I don't know. It's all the formal education. It's all the formal learning that I have. Shit. Tea going. Anyway, we're gonna get right in. A lot of greetings. Tito's here. All right, we got a lot of good. All right, are they charged up? Can you hear better?
Wait, let me connect to it.
All right.
No, this thing needs to charge it.
My volume off?
No, it's cool. Let's go. Let's go.
Somebody said, okay, let's
not let this whole thing be a thing.
All right. So the first question of the evening is Prester John. Prester John asks, Mr. Kuti, what's your relationship to Global Citizen and the World Justice Project?
Wait. Oh my God.
You're not ready for that.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, what's the question?
What is your relationship to Global Citizen and World Justice Project and the World Justice Project?
What's my relationship to Global Citizen and World Justice Project? Oh wow. This person is going straight for the jugular, like straight.
He hates on me too, man. This guy.
Well, I don't really have any relationship with Global Citizens. I have a big relationship with the African Shrine. I have a blood relationship with my brother. And this year, the African Shrine and my brother were involved in Global Citizens. I didn't get a call from Global Citizens. My brother called me and said, Seun, I want you to feature on a song with me at this show. And I was like, yeah, man, let's kick ass. And that's how I got on Global Citizens. I have no relationship with Naomi Campbell, the boss. Anybody involved in the organization, I'm telling you, I don't know anybody. Never met them, never seen them, but I was on the show, so I guess how people might think there's a relationship. There is no relationship. And the World Justice Project, I don't know what this is at all. But I know I was at the World Economic Forum. The World Justice Forum or something like 3 years ago with a very good journalist friend of mine called what's his name? Something Darren. I forgot his name right now. Just keep my mind. One of my big supporters in America plays our music a lot on his radio station in Seattle. And we've actually done a live show at this station as well. So he had me come speak at the World Justice Project. I think that's it. Probably that's it. In Amsterdam a few years ago. Yeah, so I don't really have a relationship, as it says. It's just I've had the opportunities to grace their stages 1 or 2 times.
All right. All right, let's move on.
I would like to say I'm not one of their faves. Let me just put it that way.
All right, we get it. We got it. All right. So the next question is, what are the challenges of Pan-Africanism today in the 2000s compared to your father, Fela Kuti's generation in the 50s and 60s?
Well, the thing about Pan-Africanism today is warped today. People think to be Pan-Africanist today is to be accepted by the integrationist global world media and their platforms, in your African attire. So you can even find people like Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton being Pan-Africanist for a day because they've got this kente material around their neck and they are kneeling in Congress. It's a whole package of aesthetics. Pan-Africanism today is about aesthetics. All you need to do to be a Pan-Africanist today is, do some African dance, wear some African colors made in Holland, and China. And, you listen to some African pop music too, as long as you think African music is cool. I mean, so it's the aesthetics. I think people, even in our culture, even to African culture today, African culture has been reduced to that which can be commercialized to the West, So it's also the aesthetics. So African food, African clothing, African music, art in general. So music, movies, paintings, whatever. So this today is what we accept as the totality of African culture, and also so Pan-Africanism feeds from that, because what is Pan-Africanism? Africa first. So African culture too must be your culture first. So what is this culture? I can dance African, you know. Whereas in the 50s, our culture and even Pan-Africanism was the culture. So it was the totality of it, you know, and it was all about not just our clothes, our food, but our reality. Because what is culture? If culture is not what the things that validate your reality to the world, you know, and to yourself, you know, those institutions put in place to validate your reality. I mean, if that is not culture, I don't know what is. And there are no African institutions to validate African reality. African reality today must still be validated by imperialist institutions. You know, and those who accept that this validation is appropriate are deemed Pan-Africanist and cultural icons in 2020. You know, whereas it was those people that were trying to dismantle those institutions in the 50s that were deemed Pan-Africanist and African cultural icons. You know, so I think that is where the mistake, that's where the difference is. That today the struggle is separated from the culture. You know, so African struggle is not really a part of African culture. African struggle is seen as a niche thing that crazy people like Diallo Kenyatta, you know, dedicate themselves to.
Yeah.
You know, you're not doing this. You know, you don't see anybody posting your picture on any celebrity or influencer posting your picture or say doing it for the culture. You understand?
Right.
But you know, you're wearing some Gucci at some event for white people, you know, doing some anti-blackness, you know, but you know, listening to your African, they are doing it for the culture. That is where the culture is, you know. The culture is not in the struggle. The culture is at the Met Gala.
Tiffany Diamond, first black woman to wear the Tiffany Diamond.
Exactly. That's exactly. That is the culture.
All right, next. Mr. Seun, please, do you think that the West played a role in kicking out of Seseko of Congo?
Mobutu, of course, the West had a big hand in kicking out Mobutu Sese Seko for one reason and one reason only. He was old and washed up. They needed a younger, incompetent African, you know. So definitely Belgium, the same France. I mean, if you follow the news back then, they all lined up behind Kabila to kick out Mobutu. And Mobutu, being so used to power, couldn't last a year out of office. Motherfucker died. He died.
Yeah.
So I mean, that is an open secret. I mean, it wasn't like Lumumba's execution,
right,
where everything was covert. In the case of Mobutu Sese Seko, I think the West was kind of overt in their role in his removal. You know, because by that time they had all agreed to say he was the bad guy. You know, forgetting that they themselves created the monster. You know, they were Dr. Frankenstein himself. Right. You know, and yeah.
Well, you know, I'm a socialist, and people don't understand the socialist concept of property because they know that we oppose private property. So, but socialists believe strongly in personal property and personal property rights. So, if it belongs to white folks, I think white folks have a right to do what they will with their property. You know, we have that problem here in the U.S. where a lot of black people who have sold themselves to our oppressors and belong wholeheartedly to our oppressors, and then our oppressors decides to push the delete button on them or discard them because they're no longer useful. And we have a lot of black people out of pro-black obligations. They want to rally behind these sellouts and puppets and minstrels, you know. So yeah, I think
I'm coming, Diallo. Let me now see if I can just get this thing working.
Okay, because questions are coming.
Yeah, say something, Diallo.
Something, Diallo.
Yeah, perfect.
Good. I'm hysterical. All right, so we're gonna move right on to the next question. They said you're echoing. I'm not sure what
just to add to the question about Mobutu Sese Seko. It's interesting to see that, you know, Lumumba was killed because of the uprising in Kivu and the fact that the Kivu region there was a disturbance. So the UN came in, American forces came in, because they were protecting the right of the Kivu people to seek independence from Congo. Remember this whole drama? Whereas Mobutu was working with the Soviets to quell the so-called uprising, which was fueled by the CIA. But today, we have the whole of the Congo in violent uprising. And nobody has come in to
last
change
week we had last week we had the co-founder of Friends of the Congo, who went into great detail of the U.S. hand in the atrocities dating all the way back to the Belgian occupation of the Congo, and the U.S. providing logistics, weapons, and overall support to the Belgians. So the U.S. has been deeply rooted in Congo and the ongoing atrocities there for centuries, literally. So, go back last week to our Friends of the Congo last Wednesday's show. So yeah, but Whitey giveth and Whitey taketh away. What are the challenges of following such huge shoes of your legendary father in terms of advantages and difficulties?
Well, I can say authoritatively that reality and perception are kind of two different things. A lot of people perceive things that are not real. aka Holy Ghost in the churches. This thing is perceived, but I don't think it's really real happening at all. And there's the reality of life. I think that is what it is. A lot of people perceive that being Fela's son is difficult. This person has these huge shoes to fill. But the truth about it is, I wasn't raised to really feel my father's shoes in that aspect. Fela did not raise us all to, at least me. I don't think I was raised for the purpose of filling his shoes. My dad raised me to fulfill my purpose. The purpose of my dad and I are aligned because my dad lived a true purpose, a purpose of African liberation. This is the true purpose of every African man. At some point, if you as an African man anywhere in the world are not actively working to subvert and conspiring to destroy the system that oppresses African people all over the world, then you are not really being your true self. You are acting out of self. You are being a coward in a way. To ignore the atrocities, to ignore the situation, the realities of African existence globally as an African is to be coward. Is to be a coward. It's not. There's no other way to put it. So I think my dad and I are aligned in our mission in life because, due to the fact that I'm his son, I also understand the importance of living this mission, being in this struggle. So in doing that makes a lot of people feel, oh yes, I'm trying to fill my father's shoes, but I might as well be trying to fill Nkrumah's shoes. I might as well be trying to fill Sankara's shoes, fill Amilcar Cabral's shoes. So there are many great fill Che Guevara's shoes because there are many great men who have lived this life that I'm living right now, and we all stand on their shoulders. From these bourgeois black bankers who seem to forget that without the sacrifices and the labor of all these great men, there will never be a black banker. All these black economists and black politicians and black billionaires living all over the world who think that they are self-made and they are making something happen, forgetting that, this system did not even allow us to vote. This system did not even allow us to enter the bus. If somebody did not die and struggle for that to happen. And I think until we totally destroy and, how would I put it, tear down, yes, all these pillars of oppression against motherland people all over the world, we are not really fulfilling our true purpose. So in that way, I think a lot of people see me filling my father's shoes. And I'm also a musician because I think that is the part which my father has manipulated me. Subliminally. My dad did not tell me directly I wanted to be a musician, but he took me to every show,
Right.
Made sure I saw him rehearse every time. And I think in those ways it kind of manipulated my brain.
Right.
But even until I was about 14 or 15, I'd already started playing with the band since I was 8. And he never told me once, I wanted to play with the band. This was me having to go into so many. By the time I was 8, I had seen 100 shows or something. So this was all I wanted to do. So I was like, oh, Fela, I want to sing too. And this was when I started playing with the band. But I wasn't really keen on being a musician full time. Even after my father died when I was 14, and I kept leading the band in terms of being their front man, music wasn't really still my goal. I think I still wanted to be an economist when I was about 17. But then it dawned on me when I was in my final year of high school that if you have a job like an economist, you will still have to wake up in the morning and go to work. So this is what made up my mind to be a musician. Nothing deep, nothing crazy. People think, oh, Fela, this man wanted to be a musician because his father, it was nothing that fantastic. I was torn between being a footballer, a musician, or an economist. The economist side of it flew out the window when I realized that I had to wake up in the morning for the rest of my life.
Right.
The only thing I hated about school was that school happened in the morning,
right.
and I had to wake up early to be there. That was the only thing I hated about school.
Oh, good. Well,
So this thing was going to continue all my life. After I finished school, my dream, the reason I was going through school with such ferocious speed, if I'm getting promoted twice in some classes, just to be done with it as quick as possible, was so that there will come a time in my life where I'll be free from waking up in the morning. But then it dawned on me at some point that, listen, these people are training me to wake up in the morning for the rest of my life. This waking up in the morning thing goes on forever.
Never stop. Right.
I was like, okay, economist out.
All right.
So football, and then I realized I'm not the ones you guys play in America. This is just to show you how crazy you Americans can be. You run with a ball in your hand the whole time. You kick it once in the game or twice, and you call this thing football. Listen, I'm still. It's because you guys don't want to. Handball doesn't sound so manly. Or carry the ball. It sounds a bit girly. I think. In America, you have to be a man. So,
you're not gonna get me to sit here and defend Western football. I'm not a fan of ball chasing either way.
Anyway, so but in football too, you have to wake up early for practice, and then you have to stop when you are 25. You start doing Viagra adverts like Pele.
Right.
So the only job that kind of fulfilled everything I wanted to be and how I saw myself was music. I can wake up when I want. And be my own boss as soon as I start, and I can do this job forever. So it's not really my dad. Being my dad's son did not make up my mind to being a musician now.
Okay. Yeah. I seen you play football. I think you might have had some other considerations besides the hours.
I hate you.
I'm just saying there might have been some.
You just don't like the fact that you have absolutely no talent for sports, and I'm such a good athlete. You're jealous.
Listen, I'll do a round. You take me one-on-one in basketball, and I'll take you one-on-one.
Listen, I'm too manly to do any sport with your hands.
In soccer,
I think basketball.
You already done.
I think basketball. It is not alpha male enough for me.
All right. Next time you come through.
And there's a lot of hip movement in basketball that I don't understand. All these.
Oh. All right.
There's too much hips in basketball.
I'll be a cross-cultural ambassador and introduce you to some of the African diaspora, some of our pastime of the African diaspora.
Yeah. But what I do want to learn is your community gardening. I think Lagos.
Last time you were in Chicago, we were there. You could have come through. You said it was too hot.
It was cold. You told me the garden was closed because it was winter time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was. Man, it's been a while. This damn COVID, man, got me overlapping. Estate, I admit, bro, I have not heard much of your music. Diallo is the reason I listen to Fela. I love jazz, and until I listened to Gentleman album, Miles Davis was one of my favorite artists. But you told me one time that jazz is musicians' music. When I told you I didn't really feel jazz too tough. So
yeah, because like anything in life, you need to be exposed to really get it. In the 30s and 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, music programs were kind of big, in the world, and a lot of people, even though they weren't musicians, they had music knowledge, and this form of music was exposed to them. Everybody was listening to jazz a lot. There was jazz on the radio all the time, even classical music. I even tell my friends today that, classical music is also the musician's music today. To truly appreciate classical music, you need to understand music. To really appreciate jazz, you need to understand music. To really understand what's going on, the amount of effort, talent that is being expressed on the record. And I think that's what my father understood. Fela did not want to be a musician at some point. He wanted to be a man of the people, and created something that was the form was a little bit simpler. And even today, this simpler form is not even allowed on the radio, so you need to even still dumb it down a lot more, so I think that is what it is. In terms of experiencing music today, humanity needs to abandon corporate dissemination of art. To truly grasp art, to truly embrace art in all its form, one must truly, I tell people, I said it is ridiculous that we live in a world where the worst musicians are the most celebrated musicians. And I'm not trying to diss anybody. I'm not trying to hate on anybody.
It's too late.
Trust me, the best pianist in the world is not making half of what little boy in his room pressing a computer is making in a year. I was in the studio with Robert Glasper one time when we were making my third record, and for some reason it wasn't. Forbes announced their richest musicians list that day, and Jay-Z topped the list at $100 million. And Robert Glasper, for some reason, at that moment, was playing this huge, expansive classical piece on the piano, just chilling. He was showing off. Bobby likes to show off. In case you don't know, Robert Glasper, I'll tell you right now, this man is a show off. I want him to hear that. Anyway, he's playing this piece, and it goes on CNN. Oh, Jay-Z made $100 million, topping the Forbes. And I look at him and I say, how does that make you feel?
Well, to Jay-Z's defense, he said that he didn't make. Well, it's obvious he didn't make his hundreds of millions off of hip hop. He said that he was at the height of his rap career. He was still spending his crack money. He made so much money dealing drugs to the black community that he didn't even have to touch his rap money.
I've not bought any Jay-Z crack. I've not bought Jay-Z crack before, but I've definitely bought some records and songs.
Well, that money ain't been touched yet. He's still trying to run through his.
Well, all I'm saying is, until I see some of this crack, to buy. I've not bought this Jay-Z crack. I've been to Macy's, his suburb, to see if I could find some of this his crack. But nobody around there had any Jay-Z crack for me. So I had to keep looking.
Keep looking. But that's a good segue into our next question. Can you speak to the importance of culture in our struggle and how speaking of music, is it used against us? How important is music, culture in the struggle, and how is music used against us?
Oh, wow. culture, I feel personally, that's like your first question when you asked me about this whole, the first question we did about what our culture is, and I was telling you about the aesthetics of it being the only thing embraced. It's the same thing here, because I realized that the world doesn't want anything African that cannot be commercialized. You understand? Because the first relationship Africans had with this system of the world, this capitalist system, this imperialist capitalism that rules the world today, is one of commodification, where our entire existence was commodified.
You're breaking up a bit. The connection.
Are we back?
You're back.
You know, I think struggle, Pan-Africanism is a trigger word on all these things. You guys see that on Instagram as well. You know, the CIA loops in. What's going on here?
Don't joke. It's real. I mean, shoot. As long as I've been online, I've had certain problems. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
I guess
so I think this system was one of commodification. We live in an existence and a reality whereby up till now, the only thing about Africans that the world wants to embrace are those things that we can commodify. Even up to our pain, you know, the NGOs can come to Africa and commodify the pain and the suffering of African people. But we must not struggle. You understand? It's the fact that we should struggle for ourselves, or the fact that there are certain people who have struggled for us to be where we are today, is completely removed from our immediate perception. So you as an African need to investigate, need to learn, need to dig to find your true culture, to find your true heroes. You know, you can live in Lagos, for example, and there's no street named after Nkrumah. Can you believe that there's as huge as Lagos is, as important as Lagos is to Africa, there's no street for people like Lumumba. There are no monuments. And why is that? So that they are not in our immediate perception. So we do not see them as icons. So we do not relate these men to what our culture means, so that the struggle is not associated with our existence in any way. And if the struggle is removed from our culture, then that is not called from our existence, then our culture is incomplete. And the only thing Africans can call culture today is those things that we can commodify. And there are certain things about culture that just can't be commodified, you know. So if the only thing that we discuss is the commodification of our existence, then I don't see that as culture in any way. And speaking of music, being a musician myself, you know, sometimes people tend to say, "Oh, I'm speaking from a place of hate and jealousy," which I find ridiculous, because I'm the most loving person on earth. You know, I have met everybody, and I can tell you all categorically that, you know, I'm not a hater like Diallo. I'm a lover. You know, Diallo is the Grinch of Pan-Africanism. I mean,
I'm a hater.
You know, this is our hater. You know, I on the contrary, I'm normal, but at the same time, I see a lot of toxicity. I see a lot of things that I find difficult to comprehend, and I don't know how to express it without having people's emotions hurt. But the truth is the truth, you know. Izzy, what are you doing there? I'm online. You're in my life, and you're not that famous. Get out from my shot. Wait till you're famous. Go and do something serious with your life, so Diallo can invite you to his show, and then you can be in the thing. You know, people just trying to get 5 minutes of fame without doing anything. You know, this is even perfect. You know, you can see how our entire existence as motherland people is being totally commodified. Even our people have to now commodify their existence on TikTok and Facebook. You know, jiggling our asses, doing dances all day. You know, trying to be famous. You know,
right? Coming up with merchandise. They come up with merchandise. It's terrible. I said it's terrible. People selling merchandise and products, putting their name on stuff. It's terrible. I feel it's the worst thing. I can't stand it. I can't take
show
it.
me that mug.
Go on,
Put
brother.
that mug up
Preach.
front again.
Preach.
Put that mug up front.
Well, I'm just sipping green tea. Don't worry about me. Just preach it. I can't stand it. I hate it.
You know, so for me,
Delicious.
yeah. But then there's something. Then we go even deeper into this. How would I put it? Dysfunction. You know, where we begin to commodify death, commodify violence in our community, begin to commodify the destruction of our communal understanding. You know, beginning to commodify the glorification of ignorance and things like that. And although it is kind of obvious to say, mainstream African music. You see, and I call it African music because I don't like to say American music. I don't like to say hip hop. I don't like to say reggae, all these things. We must begin to just say African music now, because I think people are beginning to lose their minds. Just because black people are in America when they made a form of music, how does that make the music American music? You know, without African people in America making that music, it will not be in America. So it is African music. I mean, Jamaica was an empty island. There's no such thing as Jamaican music. It is African people making music in Jamaica. Hence, it is African music. You know, so maybe if we start calling it all African music, we will understand our responsibilities to African people in general. You know, because I feel like the corporations that use this music to destroy the hegemony of our communities and the power of the internal power of our communal dynamics, you know, destroying the power of our dining table conversations, you know, where there's more influence in this TV and Instagram than within the family unit. It's because, you know, we have, number one, denied power as motherland people, our own independent power as motherland people to truly create our own institutions that govern the way we see the world. But also, there's also this sinister praise of the destruction of black people, especially poor black people in this music. And that for me is what is dangerous. Because majority of African people all over the world are poor, whether we like it or not. You know, those of us that are willing, that are able to find some comfort within this oppression, you know, are very few and far between. Even among African people in America, you know, so-called African Americans, you know, the level of poverty, you know, I mean, in Africa, in America, anywhere you find us, you know, the majority of us are living quite poor. So when you find that this art, or especially our music, is used to ridicule poor people, you know, it's saying to us, you can kill poor people. You know, these poor black women that want money, you should treat them like female dogs, and you know, all this, and most especially, you shouldn't love black people. But they say that you shouldn't love anyone, you know, but it's not really anyone, just the way they're not saying kill anyone. You know, I've listened to 100 hip hop albums. I've never heard anybody shoot a white man before, you know.
I do have some albums. I have some albums where they do, but you know, you got to go back to the early 90s.
To those albums. You need to send me these records, you know, because I'm finding some. I'm trying to find some records, except White Intelligent Blue Klux Klan.
There you go.
About shooting.
You know why it's intelligent, right? Poor righteous teachers.
But I'm saying mainstream hip hop music.
No.
What the majority of people are exposed to. And you know, the corporations always have all these how would I put it? They have all these think tanks that come up with the right excuse to defend these African traitors who use their music to debase and call for African extinction.
Right.
You know, they say things like, well, movies are violent too. But I always say to people, the relationship you have with your favorite movie and the relationship you have with your favorite songs are different. There's nobody in this world that watches their favorite movie every day. You know, you watch your favorite movie 3 times a year. 4 max. Your birthday, on Jesus' birthday, New Year's Day, you know, and the anniversary of the day the movie came out. If you like it that much, you know, I was there. The movie, it's 20 years anniversary of Die Hard. You know, but your favorite song, you know, you're playing it in your head all the time. Even when you're not playing it on the radio, you're humming it to yourself. The relationship is different. Your favorite song controls your spirit in the terms of how you see the world. It is keyed in to your the relationship is more personal, you know.
Right.
I feel like, you know, singing your favorite song is like you're chanting a mantra, you know, because you're repeating it continuously. Even when you're not saying it in your mouth, you're playing it in your head. It affects you in a different way than your favorite film. So when we have African people saying, you know, kill this, sell drugs, money over everything, you know, and these same people will tell you, yo, I love my family. I'm like, but you just told me yesterday, money over everything. You know, speak the truth, nigga.
Right. But while you mentioned Wise Intelligent, I've been working my way through the Dumbed Down Rapper, 3/5 and MC, Wise Intelligent. You know, so we're going to do a detailed review of this. But moving on, we're going to try to move to the lightning round mode so we can get to as many questions as possible. So we'll try to limit the response to 1 to 2 minutes so we can get through as many questions as possible, if that'll work for you.
Yeah,
so we'll try to lightning round this.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, let's go. But all right, the 1-year anniversary of End SARS protest was recently commemorated. Is the movement on the ground still going strong, and how are young Nigerians fighting police brutality and repression? Tito asks.
Yeah, I think this is us learning too much from Black Lives Matter and trying to do the same things that Americans are doing all the time, asking our oppressors to stop oppressing us, when the power to stop our own oppression is really in our hands. As I've said many times, the goal in Nigeria is not to end SARS. SARS is just one police department. And if they end SARS, it doesn't put food on our table. It doesn't end police brutality, you know. End SARS doesn't end police brutality. I mean, before there was SARS, there was police brutality, you know, and it had always been there. It wasn't SARS that killed my grandmother and burned down my father's house. You know, we have a larger problem with oppression in Nigeria and in Africa, and we must face it head on. You know, we must understand that the elites of Africa are anti-African, you know, and they need this policy, they need this police to crack our skulls, just the way the European elites need the police to crack the skulls of young African people in those countries too. We must understand that the police force and the military forces of Africa were the Africans willing to kill other Africans to protect colonial interests during colonial era. That is how we got police and army in Africa. And this is still in their DNA till today. That's how they are trained. It's still in their manuals. You can go and check their manuals, how they are trained. It's still these colonial documents that are used to train African military and police officers. So we must understand the mindset, you know.
We had the same issue here. Prior to the George Floyd protest, there was a big push to demilitarize the police. And I was pointing out that back when the U.S. police only carried 6 shooters, you know, 38 specials, 6 shooters, snub-nosed 6 shooters, and only alternate weapon they had was a wooden billy club, there was still severe police brutality and murders. So, you know, it's not about whether, right, it's not about their tactics and formation. It's their overall existence and the systems and institutions that justify them.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
Yeah. Christopher Akiwowo, your father is a legend. He was greatly admired, and my great uncle, the late Olatunji,
there's no
admired
question there.
Fela. So there's no question. Just a shout
I
out.
also know I also know Baba Olatunji. I am admire him a lot. A great African percussionist. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen him perform. My wife actually met him as well.
How old are you, man?
Me? You know, my birthday's coming up. Let me see. Oh yeah, on Sunday it's my birthday, so I get to celebrate with the Lord. Yeah.
Yo, man, send me a ticket, man. Send me a ticket to Chicago. Let me come through there.
Always. I got more tofu for you.
No.
Yeah. More tofu. So
No,
you're gonna pretend like you didn't like it? You're gonna
coming
front?
with my wife. I'm coming with my wife, and we're gonna like have our own section of the catering. You
know. Don't front. It was good. That's
living
your
with
problem.
Diallo is hard. Living with Diallo is hard.
Cupcakes.
Let me just tell you all that. You got to eat tofu, chickpeas.
Front like you didn't like it. Say it wasn't good, and I'll never exactly. So stop fronting.
I love it because Erica made it, and I can't say my mind because I love her. This has nothing to do with you.
Oh, you front. You look okay. Let's move on before we got to veganize the African continent. That's what the next statement.
Listen, that would be the biggest part of the struggle. Getting Africans to go vegan. Ooh,
we will, man. The bread basket of the world, man. Yes, that's part of my mission. Okay. Do you agree that gatekeeping Black African culture is an important part of Pan-Africanism?
As long as we are also updating the culture. Definitely there was the culture, as great as it was, had some at least military deficits. And this is just due to the fact that our culture did not inspire the coastal kings to understand their role of protecting the larger interest of the interior part of Africa. The selling of African people by these coastal kings and their European accomplices, the entire weakening of the African institutions due to the greed of few African men who were mesmerized by European things, to the extent that they thought that these things were more valuable than the life of their people and even the future of their children unborn. And even till today, we have all these men all over Africa, all over the world representing Africa. I think one of the criteria that you must meet as an African man to be successful in this world is to prove to the world that you love things more than Black people. That you, for some Gucci, you are willing to kill a Black man. For some cars, you are willing to kill a Black man. As long as you can prove this to the world through song, I kill you for my money, or through your natural act or your disdain, whatever. The world sees you as civilized and ready to join the party. So I think this is one of the biggest deficits in African existence today, that, the majority of African people that are successful are those people that see their success as more important as, the life of African people, just the way those people in the past did. So as long as we understand that we must update this culture, as long as we must understand there are certain aspects of this culture that we must truly scrutinize and bring to the future, and also create new institutions, because African people today are not represented by any of the world's institutions. So we need new institutions to really validate African institutions that validate African experience, that does not stigmatize our poverty, but begins to strategize on how to end it. Many African people are on this anti-poverty culture, so they just want to not be poor. So as soon as they are able to be successful and not be poor, they think their duty is to fight the poor people or be unlike the poor people, forgetting that the enemy is not the poor people or the poor situation they found themselves in, but the enemy is poverty. And if we are all fighting that enemy, we understand that our allies were its biggest victims, the poor people, but we African people are conditioned not to see things in that way. So as long as we can correct those things, then gatekeeping the culture is definitely a part of Pan-Africanism.
Yeah.
But if we,
no, I was going to say,
if we are not doing those things and we're allowing the toxic aspects. Let me put it that way. Not toxic aspect, not aspects, but the toxic narratives of what it is to be an African man, an African woman. You know, all this our talk of submission of the woman without ourselves as the men submitting to the culture. You understand? African women are not submitting to African men. They are also submitting to African culture. So if you want your wife to submit to you in the sense that you are saying, you must first of all submit to African culture. You yourself submit to African culture. Make you understand the context of your wife's submission. But we don't submit to the culture, but we expect women to submit to us because we feel that is African culture and all of that. That is not something to gatekeep because it is not real. So we as African people must discover the real and see what we have to do to update the real. And yes, that we can gatekeep, that we can protect. You know, but not all this nonsense that people are calling culture today.
Well, I feel that, you know, because I think, you know, a lot of times tradition gets confused, where we think that people are supposed to serve tradition as opposed to tradition and culture serving the people. The concept of gatekeeping always kind of bothers me because it suggests that there is some type of gate around the African culture, that there's some type of barrier or some containment for African culture. That
I think it is. I think what they're saying in this aspect is gatekeeping the African culture in terms of culture vultures. You know, because today there's also, as I told you, the commodification of our culture, the commercialization of it.
Yeah,
to the extent where African people are now excluded from their own culture. You know,
right, but I like better the concept of because, you know, culture is a living thing. I like better the concept of curating or cultivating African culture, you know, as opposed to, you know, having it fixed and say, okay, you're in or you're out, or you're allowed in or you're excluded. I think cultivating it allows it to not be so restrictive and stagnant, because in revolution, as things change and we're trying to make revolution, there are some elements of our tradition, especially here in the West, things that we define as African American culture or Black American culture or African diaspora culture, that we think is inherently Black. But a lot of those traditions come from, you know, our enslavement, our colonization, that aren't really us. You know, like a lot of traditions, I get in trouble with the Black church. And whenever I go to criticize, critique, or try to expunge the influence of the Black church from our efforts here in the West, people are like, well, the Black church is a part of our culture, you know? So, and so that type of things, I think, you know, we're going to have to revolutionize our culture. But yeah, I agree. It's just the you know, the concept of gatekeeping. I say
that's why I use the concept of submission of the woman, you know, because a lot of Africans believe this submission to be African, but the submission they want is the European style on submission of the woman. I always tell people that just the way there was European slavery, very different from African slavery. So in Africa, when the woman submits, you know, the woman is submitting to the culture, not to the man. Because the man himself has submitted to the culture. You know, but we have men around today who don't wear African clothes, eat African food, worship African gods. You know, they're only African on Black Panther Week. You know, in their white approved black states. You know, when the white people say, today is fine for all of us to be African. Yay! You know, but these people talk about submission all the time, but they didn't get that from African culture. You know, they got it from their reading of the Bible, you know, but then they want to sit on the fence and claim it is from their African roots that they are bringing this. So don't question me, woman.
Right.
And that's why I say to people, I say to people, you know, when you hear the phrase, a woman's place is in the kitchen, this is not an African proverb. It is very European. It has no equivalent in any African language, you know. So that's how you understand the difference between European submission and African submission.
Well, both of our wives are chefs.
Your wife is a professor. I mean,
well, she was a chef. She was a vegan. You know, we had 2 restaurants.
Vegan chefs don't count.
Okay. I think I'm gonna post that picture of you enjoying tofu that I have. I've been holding it back, but I think I'm
listen, if you look at this picture, you can really tell in my face I'm not having a good time.
okay. I'm gonna have to go
You
ahead and
have
put that
starved
on.
me the whole day,
I have to.
and then
But
you
you
come
have
and have
something.
this tofu.
I'm not gonna post it because you got something on me too, and you've been good keeping my secrets. So it'll be mutual destruction. I won't post that unless you post.
I'm holding tight to it. I'm holding
Good.
tight to it.
So we got a
Mr.
mutually
J.
assured destruction.
Mr. J.
See, you're getting close to the line. So it'll be mutually assured destruction. Okay, the next question. I recently heard one of your father's song play on Idris Elba's Western film. Who owns the masters/rights to your father's music? Does the Kuti family at least receive royalties?
We own it, but we license it to a company in the States that we work with, in terms of releasing factory records. I think they're in charge of releasing Fela's records, and we own the royalties, and we make some money. We make some money. I ain't even going front.
Good, wonderful. Return to the source. Zamaya asks, question for Seun. Will you say that the Nigerian government itself is Boko Haram, and can you pinpoint which foreign countries are playing a role in it?
Well, for me, when I tell people that the Nigerian government is Boko Haram, it's not in the same xenophobic context that a lot of charlatans that we have in our country right now claiming to be for the people do. They are ethnic bigots that want Nigerians to see Boko Haram as a manifestation of a strictly northern a conspiracy against the rest of the country to create even more division among the poor and working class people of this country. So instead of us to see our enemies as a collective Nigerian elite and their imperialist overlords, we begin to see enemies amongst ourselves, and we cannot really create a united people's front to fight our, because I always tell people, Boko Haram's tactics aligns with the Nigerian government's tactics. What am I saying? I'm saying nobody has killed more innocent Nigerians since there was Nigeria than the Nigerian government. It is almost like it is the creed of the Nigerian government to eliminate poor Nigerian people, working Nigerian people, agitating Nigerian people, Nigerian students, Nigerian women. The only people safe from the atrocities of the federal government of Nigeria, from the state machine of Nigeria, are the state politicians and their benefactors. You understand? They are the only ones that do not face this violence. We as Nigerian people, we face all sorts of state violence every day. We face economic violence. Right now, food prices have gone up over 300% in the last 5 months in my country. That is warfare. That is economic warfare against the poor people, because salaries have not moved in over 10 years. What am I saying? In over 25 years in this country. So last year, 2 years ago, the government passed a law that minimum wage is going to be 30,000. But up until this moment, a lot of states, more than half of the states of the federation, have not implemented this law. There are people in Nigeria still paid about $60. Now with the exchange rate, because the naira has lost almost about over 100% in value. It has lost over 100. What am I saying? The dollar has gained 100% in value over the naira. Yeah, that's how to put it. So it was 250, 300 to 1. Now it's about 560. So we as Nigerian people, the earning power of our local currency has reduced drastically. The government is not increasing salaries, and food prices, lights, the price for light has gone up by almost 100%. They are talking about increasing fuel. Gas has gone up by over 100%. You understand? So we're under constant economic attack by the federal government. Walking on the streets, the cops are harassing us, slapping us. So there's direct physical violence, by the state, kidnapping us on the streets, because even before Boko Haram started kidnapping Nigerian people, I always say to people, there are a group of people in Nigeria that just go around in a van, and then they park in front of you, grab you off the streets, throw you in this van, take you away till your family comes to pay some money to bail you. And this is the Nigerian police at work. You understand? So We are being kidnapped by the state every second. You did nothing wrong. I'm not joking. Just like even in America, black bodies are not safe walking the streets of Africa. That's why our book is so important, Diallo. We have to finish this book next year, now that COVID is over, to show the people of this world the similarities in the existence of a black man living in Nigeria, in Lagos, and a black man living in Chicago. You know, I always say to people, it is not because the police in America is white. It is because they are the police. I'm telling you, because in Africa, there's no white police in Africa. All the cops here are black, but
or the West Indies.
They've never shot a white man before. We have over 3 million white people in Lagos. Not one has ever been shot. Come and see how many black people they shoot every day here. You know, we are treated the same way.
Can we make a segue? I want to turn it over to you to talk about movement of the people. We have a few questions related to movement of the people, the platform and the agenda and the contact, and then we'll get back to the question. So I want to just turn it over to you for a second. And oops, I'm messing up. How do you do this? Okay, take that down. All right. And I want to, how do I make it so that you're,
yeah, I'm the only cute one. It's good you have just me on the screen, Diallo. You are chasing away the ladies with your scary beards. Where is Diallo? Are you there? Oh my.
Where you go? All right. Let's just have a short break and we'll.
Are you back?
Yeah, I'm here. I just wanted you to take over, take the lead, and tell us about movement of the people.
Why are you sounding like that? Why are you sounding like that to Diallo? There you are.
All right, my bad.
Oh my God.
Sorry about that. I had to fix something.
Every time you talk, it's like.
I know. I saw that. I was just went off a little bit to see. Is it better now?
I can't hear you.
Damn.
Like you've done something to your mic.
I know. Like, I saw that. Hold on. Let me just check. Okay. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? All right. Can y'all hear me? Can the audience, can you guys hear me?
Maybe I should come out and come back in.
Oh, no. Wait. Let me just switch mics. It says it. Oh, this thing. All right, we're just waiting for him to come back. Sorry. I saw that was the levels thing had flatlined. So let's see. Can you guys hear me? Just fine. We can hear both of us. Good. Thank you. All right, so let's see if he comes back through. Oh, he's back. All right, let's add him. Can you hear me now?
We are being sabotaged.
You still can't hear me? Wow.
I can't hear you. You know, like I'm sure you can hear me because you seem to be able to hear me. But when you speak, it's just like
yeah, I saw that.
Like,
I thought
you're like slow mo.
Yeah. Okay, now it's picking up. Can you hear me now?
Oh my God! What the hell is this devil sound? The devil is here. We need some Holy Ghost music. The devil is here.
I see now it's the green
Maybe
light.
cut out your mic and put it back on.
Huh? Should I? What'd you say? Say that again.
Still the same. Wait. Talk now. Say something now.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Because it's picking up. It's just not getting through to you. That's wild.
If you're having issues, try restarting your device. So
Anybody
maybe
got time
we should
for
just
that?
restart our devices and come back. What do you think?
You still can't hear me?
Not twice. Not twice. I can't see you. Put your video back on, and nod if we should restart.
Well, if we restart, you want to restart?
Let's go.
I think that would
on.
end the broadcast. I'd have to make us. Oh, so he don't listen. Oh, he couldn't hear me anyway. All right, so he's gonna restart and hopefully come back. I don't know if I can restart because then I think that'll cut everything. So, but you guys can hear me. Hopefully, when he comes back, he'll be able to hear me. Can you hear now? Can y'all tell me if you guys can hear us both? So he just can't hear me. I saw that. I thought I'd try to troubleshoot. I might just kill this microphone, maybe try to use the computer mic. That'll be my next move. Echo is better. See, Prester John got some more vaccine questions. Hello, Seun. All right. Bobby, slow, thank you. There's some good questions here, man. Hopefully we can get him back on. I've never had this many issues with the broadcast. It's very simple. While I'm here, let me do a promo. If you guys can support ongoing media efforts, going across the screen, you can support. But I'm waiting for him to come back. There's a lot of good questions here. I'm sorry. I hope we can get to them. Maybe I can answer a question or two before we get there. Wow, some good questions. Burner Boy. I'm sorry for the dead air. So anyway, if you guys have any questions for me, because these are all Seun specific questions. So if you guys have any questions for me specifically, I was going to do a solo BroDiallo. Kinsero Weaver. Yeah. Get it out Diallo. Well, I don't know what you're talking about here. Anyway. Oh, he's back. Good. So I don't have to sit it. Okay.
Like the Obamas.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I'm back like Jeff Bezos from space.
Can you hear me?
I'm back like Bush and Blair in 04 and 05. I can hear you.
Oh, you can. Oh, you just talk.
I'm telling you, I'm back. I'm back.
All right, good. So the problem must have been on your end.
Like fascism.
When did it ever leave?
It left for a little bit, went on the ground. That's why I didn't leave. I just went on the ground.
Not here. Not here. Okay, you ready to continue? Because these questions are getting a little... We're going to try to lightning round these questions because we have quite a few questions and then we already had some technical difficulties. So...
Yeah, anyways, I was saying about Boko Haram. So I realized that the tactics of Boko Haram has been the same tactics of the federal government of Nigeria. Right. That is killing poor and unarmed Nigerian people en masse. Yes, Boko Haram has also killed a few politicians. But the Nigerian government has also killed a few politicians too that they disagree. Right. So when I see similarities like that between the organization, I realize that it is an arm of the federal government of Nigeria. And the international aspect of this is that I did an analysis one time pointing out the similarities between the African societies just before colonialism, right, and our societies today. How slavery had completely decimated our societies, creating so much violence, intra-communal violence in our societies, that the Europeans who started the slave trade at that monumental scale, and had made so much wealth from it, and as Chiwenzu aptly put it in his book, slavery was now too poignant for their aristocratic noses, to so we are going to Africa to bring stability, to end slavery, and that was the beginning of our colonialism. So if you remember very correctly, slavery was an idea sold to Africans by the Arabs, trans-Saharan slavery. This is how slavery started, and the Westerns joined, and then it was the reason for both the Arabs and the Europeans to colonize us in Africa. Now, watch out. The new reason is this terrorism business, right? We imported it from the Arabs just the way, we did slavery. Now it's rampant all over Africa. And about some months ago, our government actually were begging the United States to come and open a base.
AFRICOM.
Yeah, a base.
There to protect
in
you.
my country. Yes. So the narrative is eerily similar, and the United States, just like they did, just like the way the United Kingdom did in the 18th century. Oh no, we don't want to interfere in this issue. It is internal. We are here. We'll give advice. We'll help. We don't want to set up a base. But this is the beginning. As long as that request has been made, the base is 80% here.
Yeah.
This is, and if you remember, all this terrorist violence in Africa started with the death of Muammar Gaddafi. There's always been pockets of this Arabic-style terrorism in the name of Allah all over, the Sahel, sub-Saharan region of West Africa to East Africa with El Shabazz and all of that. But now with the death of Gaddafi in Libya and Hillary Clinton and Obama arming these moderate extremists, who now took over the entire armory of Libya, found that there's a lot of arms proliferation across these groups in Africa. And we don't make guns and arms here. So whenever there's arms making its way into Africa like this, especially into deserts, landlocked desert regions, that Air America is at work again. And if you don't know about Air America, you should go and try and get a copy of a book Diallo gave to me called The Politics of Heroin.
I didn't give that book to you. I didn't give that book to you. You took it.
Erica did. The head of the house did. The head of the house gave it to me. Erica did give it to me. Dr. Erica did. So I don't care what Diallo Kenyatta says. But Dr. Erica gave me the permission. I did not abscond. You can call your wife, the head of the house. Call
She's
the head
teaching
of the house
right now.
On this show. Well, you could get.
She's teaching class. She's in the next room. She's teaching.
I will not let you. Diallo. Every time I speak about you, I give you nothing but props. I tell the whole world you're my political mentor. People should check you out. But here you are, trying to tell the world I absconded with the book the head of the house gave to me. This is not.
No,
not,
like the Amos Wilson books.
Mentor right now.
I could tell you, every book I gave you, I had more than one copy of. I'm not really that generous of a person. The Amos Wilson books and stuff, I had more than one copy. I didn't have.
What Amos Wilson book did you give me?
Didn't I give you? Don't have my copy of Blueprint for Black Power?
I have to buy my. You just showed me this book.
Go look on your shelf. Your copy of Blueprint for I
have a copy. I bought my copy.
No,
you didn't give it to me. I bought my copy.
That's why I'm agreeing.
Listen, I'm sure you have your copy. You didn't give me the copy.
I had 2 copies.
You have your copy.
I had 2 copies. Okay. I had 2 copies of that book. But okay, man. Listen, I don't do this. I
You
don't.
spotted the second copy, haven't you? You've spotted your second copy, haven't you? You've spotted it.
No, just one. Just one. But okay, I'm not gonna argue. I'm not gonna argue because every
You
time
know,
I
I
do
have
something
your
good,
and it's one of the best books I ever read. You know, it's truly an amazing book. This CIA, the politics of the heroin trade, is
yeah,
amazing. You know, discovering about Air America and all of that. You know, so
yeah,
yeah. Anyway, so this is my point. You know, so I definitely see the unseen hand of imperialism, as usual. You know, not so unseen these days, because we as Africans have been manipulated by CNN and all these imperialist news agencies to see these manipulators of African economies, African societies, and even our politics as some kind of benevolent act. You know what I mean? We have
right.
Africans today being celebrated for being Cecil Rhodes scholars. You know, I mean, I don't know how lost we are if that's not a sign of how much we've lost the plot on who certain people are to us and how we should relate to the world today. So yeah, there's definitely the unseen hand in the Boko Haram situation in Nigeria. I'm sorry if my answers are not fast enough. But
Yeah,
one
I
question
just
about
it's
Africa.
just so many people engaged here. I just want to get to as many questions, but
I know because I'm here. I'll be here till it's 1:16. I'm not sleepy. You know, so
oh,
let's
word.
see. I'm sure you're already sleepy, and it's 8 p.m. Diallo. You know.
Right. All right. So if I'll give you all the time you need then, since you have promised.
Because I always message you at like 10 a.m. Nigerian time, which is like 4 a.m. your time, and I don't get replies. And you are like,
no, I reply in the morning.
I don't believe
you. I do. No, I got the messages. But yeah, you would text me like 3 in the morning. And then you get mad at me for texting you at 3 in the morning.
Yeah, but since you were texting me at 3 in the morning your time, I just thought to do the same and see, if there's any correlation.
It'll all be worked out when I repatriate back to the African continent.
Yeah, we'll be on the same time.
Open up a
Africa
series
is the same time.
To open a vegan cafe in Lagos. Then we won't have these time zone issues. So.
The thing about opening a vegan cafe in Lagos is that we have to go open it in the rich people neighborhood. You have a lot of white and Africans trying to be white there.
No. They come to you. We opened a vegan restaurant in the hood in like the slums of Missouri, Kansas City, and all the rich white people would safari into the hood to get veganism. You don't know.
Yeah, man. Because if you call 911 from your restaurant, in their white voice, the police is going to come down and crack some heads.
Right.
But in Nigeria, they're not going to come to Ikeja because of your restaurant, because they know there's no 911. In Nigeria, there's no number to call the police with. You have to be lucky that the police sees you, being robbed or something. If the police do not spot the crime, there's no way to report it by phone.
Right. All right. Look, so we're going to get back to the questions. But, people don't want to see us bickering. So all right, here's the next question from Tito. All right, we back everybody. Why do you think there are growing separatist movements for Biafran and Oduduwa nations? Why doesn't one Nigeria resonate with some Nigerians in today's political climate?
Because Nigeria in itself, my answer here is going to be quite complicated because this is a complicated issue. For me, as a Yoruba man who is being, if I would be in any nation, it would be Oduduwa nation. And I think the same goes for the Biafrans. Is that a lot of people have never seen Nigeria as theirs. Nigeria has never been a nation to us. It has never cared for the Nigerian people. It has never really, how would I put it, been responsible for helping the Nigerian people achieve their full potential. You understand? And that is the failing of Nigeria. So Nigerians don't really feel any affinity. That's why it is really easy to sell Africans a lot of things, to sell Africans a lot of heroes. because that space where national pride should be, where citizens.
I'm breaking up. You're freezing. Man, this is a bit frustrating. Let me see. You're froze on us, Seun. Damn. Oh my goodness. All right. So now he's frozen. Now we got frozen. That's a very good question. Damn, I have so many technical difficulties. Sorry about that. So, damn. Oh, he's back again. All right, I'm gonna put him back on the stream. You froze there. Sorry.
Yeah, the internet went off, so I just had to I don't think it was the internet, but I just refreshed and it's working. You know, as usual, we're saying some real shit, and they don't like that.
Yeah, we'll just power through. I appreciate everyone that is riding with us, that is working through. So, I'll allow you to continue.
So, you know, Nigeria is a creation of British imperialists, and the reason Nigeria was created was to extract the resources and labor of the Nigerian people. You know, and that hasn't changed. You know, so this is what is important, that since 60 years of our so-called independence, the men and women who have run this country have not seen any reason, you understand, because they themselves are descendants of that system of colonialism and imperialism. Many of them are descendants of slave traders, the descendants or spiritual descendants of those people that believed that European things were more valuable than African people. We are still ruled by those set of people, you understand? So their duty is to perpetuate this machine that eats African people and spits out our bones, you understand? So I, as a Yoruba man, you know, we have to understand what colonialism is. Colonialism traps your identity from the world forever. You understand? So as a Yoruba man, I cannot see the world as a Yoruba man. To the world, Yoruba is savage. So Yoruba is not allowed to travel. You're not allowed to build. I can only do things as a Nigerian. So I can understand, you know, and if how that relationship between me as a Yoruba man and this oppressive machine, you know, how can I be one and the same? You understand what I'm saying? I am Yoruba and I have to be Nigerian. And Nigerian does nothing but oppress the Yoruba. You understand? So I understand that aspect. But now why I do not support the Yoruba nation is because if the goal is to end that oppression of what Yoruba is, then the Yoruba nation must start with a dialogue among the Yoruba people of the things that we have to do to stop this machine from being able to oppress us. Meaning we as Yoruba people must begin to, even before we fight Nigeria, we must agree among ourselves how we want to feed ourselves, how we want to educate ourselves, you understand? How we want to power ourselves, you understand? What kind of relationship does the Yoruba nation want, this new young nation that is rebuilding from its ancestral past? What kind of relationship does this nation want to have with its neighbors? Do we want to start our relationship, our nation at war with the Igbos, with the Hausas, with the Fulanis, you know, with everybody around our borders, or we want to start a nation that is in cooperation? These are fundamental questions that are not being asked, you understand? And are just being told to separate from Nigeria, you know, and separation from Nigeria for us at this moment as a disorganized unit, because we are still not politically organized, you understand, as Yoruba people, meaning that the same Yoruba politicians engaged in the fraudulent act of Nigeria today will be the politicians that will rule us in the Yoruba land, and we will not expect to get anything different from these kind of people who already own all the means, whatever, as little as it is, they already own all the means of production in our land. You understand? And Yoruba people, we still do not grow all the food we need. We import a lot of food from the abroad, even though we have enough arable land to do that. But a large percentage of the land is dedicated to cash crops. Due to our colonial history, most of the land in Yoruba land that is arable is used to grow cocoa for Nestle, used to grow rubber for tire factories, you understand? Used to grow cotton for textile manufacturers, you know, and the little food they grow, the best of it is exported to European and American markets for foreign currency, while we in Africa cannot afford food, Diallo. You understand? Many people in my country cannot even afford the food that we grow from Nigeria. You know what I'm saying? It is so bad that imported rice is cheaper than local rice in this country. That is how dangerous the people that control our means of production are here. That their own people cannot even afford the food that they grow. You know. So we are in that situation as motherland people, and that is the situation we must agree on. It is not a matter of what nation that we are living under. You know, be it Yoruba nation or Dua nation, Biafra, whatever it is that people want to choose. You know, and Africans in this day and age, we must be willing to, over any other thing, have serious dialogue with one another. We must not jump into war or destruction of lives, especially when we have done it before and gained nothing from it. Nigeria has fought a civil war based on the needs of their elites. We've done it before in the 60s, from 1966 to 1969. The most terrible war in the history, one of the most terrible wars in the history of Africa, with over 3 million lives lost. And what do the Igbo people have to show for it today? You know, absolutely nothing. And we did it here in the Western region, even though it wasn't a civil war per se, but it was almost that, with the war between the NCDC, NCNC, and the which now became the modern Nigerian party or something. I forgot Akintola's party and Awolowo's action group. You know, how many people did these two people kill in Western Nigeria? You know, in the name of political supremacy and whatever it is they called it back then. And so, I mean, we've been there. We must now, as African people, be willing to engage, you know, with dialogue. You know, we must not engage all the time in the way that the imperialists have set us up to engage. We must rise above that and dialogue with one another. That's what I think about this issue.
Absolutely. Mr. Kuti, Imprester, he's vehemently anti-vaccination. He's against the COVID vax, and he's mad at me for advocating the COVID vax for.
But why are you advocating the COVID vax? Are you a doctor?
No.
You know, I mean, why are you not advocating? What I don't think people should do is advocate or not advocate the vaccine. This is why I don't trust the vaccine personally, because right from the get-go, it's been politicized. You know, everyone's medical history should be personal and private. This being no exception. You know, and I think it is the vaxxers, not the anti-vaxxers, that fucked this up, because they had all these celebrities going to show themselves being vaccinated and all of that. That is manipulative, you know. That is not letting that is not allowing the facts to speak for itself.
Right,
you
but
know, especially for African people who have no choice but to love celebrities like their countries. You know, we love our celebrities because we have nothing substantial to love. These are the only substantial things you give us, you know.
But here's the thing. My issue with that is a lot of people are blaming the science when that is the nature of capitalism. They've been using celebrities and mass marketing techniques to manipulate the masses for decades. And that didn't start with the pandemic, nor will it end with the pandemic. So I think a lot of times we blame the wrong sources. And also, I don't trust the vaccine either. But fortunately for all of us, that trust isn't an element in science or the scientific method. So the reason I advocate for the vaccine is because of we are in a pandemic that is ravaging Black people especially. And it's kind of funny because at the beginning of the pandemic, the big issue here in the U.S. was that Black people were being undertreated or being refused treatment for the vaccine. So we had an issue with a Black woman who was a doctor, and they were finding that Black people would go into the hospitals with COVID symptoms, and then it's supposed to be put on oxygen, as opposed to being admitted and receiving other respiratory therapies. They were giving them placebos essentially and sending them home. So up until the vaccine was available, the outcry and the outrage was based on Black people being refused treatment. And now we're in a situation where Black people, we have a large segment of the Black community that is refusing treatment. So that's the problem when you politicize something. People are working off of trust and distrust and emotion when there is no, and a lot of times when you hear people discuss their position on the vaccine, they're not talking about the science, because if you're talking about the science, you're not talking about trust and distrust, because there's no science. I don't care if it's biology, astrology, or virology and pharmacology. There is no science that has any element of trust involved in it. So a lot of problems that people have with the marketing of the vaccine, with the policies, the political policies of distribution and the prioritizing of vaccines, none of those are scientific issues. All of those, every single one of those issues are political and social. They're not scientific. And we're attacking the science and rejecting the science, or outraged at the science, distrustful of the science, when none of those issues are scientific in nature.
But even today, one of the doctors in Pfizer was it yesterday? It was on RT. I don't know if CNN has gotten this. If CNN is, how would I put it? If CNN is right now, what's this word? When they are broadcasting this news right now, but one of the Pfizer top people has come out to completely say that Pfizer cut corners during the third phase testing, and they didn't actually test nothing. And definitely this will be swept under the rug. But right now there's I think I can send it to you on WhatsApp. Where is this?
But anyway, let's just move forward, because my issue has always been what's in the best interest of African people. And in my assessment is that the Black community in the U.S. has been hit most hardest by the COVID pandemic, economically, and the comorbidities Black people have outweighed. I mean, I did a whole presentation on it.
There's nothing in this world. I mean, being Black in this world means that we bear the brunt of anything that happens.
But in terms of what's in our best interest as a people, in terms of how we can endure and help and save ourselves as a people, I think a lot of people, especially here in the U.S., a lot of wealthy celebrities who have the means to get proper treatment, a lot of people, vegan, raw foodist, natural health people, they're looking at where most Black people don't live their lifestyle and don't have the resources that they have, but they're advocating that Black people take the measures that they take, and it's harming quite a few and disproportionately.
I would generally not give medical advice in any form. Like, if you check my page on Instagram, you can't even tell if I have the vaccine or not, if I've taken it or not.
Well, the problem is it has been politicized.
Let me tell you something. You are speaking like, I'm trying to save humanity here. I'm the guy that is going to fight on the side of the aliens when they come for you. Because I'm fed up with you guys. I watch the news every day. I see what you guys are doing to the planet. I see what you're doing to Mother Nature. I see what you're doing to the animal species. Yeah, you people, you Americans especially.
I'll close my coal mine. I'm going, us Americans. I agree.
You Americans, You
I agree.
Americans, especially.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm not a patriot, so I don't take any offense to anyone
sometimes,
condemning the U.S.
sometimes I sit back and I relax and I look at the world and I'm like, what is it all for? Why do we even do what we do when humanity seems so hell-bent on destroying itself? When the people one is even speaking for seems like they are more in love with their oppressor than they're in love with an alternate kind of world that we can actually create as human beings, where everybody can actually just have a decent life, you know. The kind of things we celebrate as Black people, the complete disrespect of the Black female form, you know, the complete annihilation of African manhood without economic advantages. You know, if you're a Black man without economic advantage in life, you know, your humanity is completely neglected. You know, doesn't matter if you're a good person, doesn't matter if you tell the truth, it doesn't matter if you're kind, doesn't matter if you're intelligent, you know, it doesn't matter if you're communal, it doesn't matter if you possess any of these things that truly make you human. But without this European fiat to endorse you as an African man, you know, society almost completely ignores you, and it's even worse for the African woman. So all these things that I see and that we continue to perpetuate. Now, this is what disappoints me, you know, that we struggle against it. We embrace these ideas. Even the poor people who it is against are the ones trying as much as possible to uplift and uphold these ideas. You know, it makes me feel sometimes like, yeah, you know, if Corona is what is coming to do the job, let it do its job, you know. But
you sound like Prince. You know, these people, you sound like Prince Charles. He said that
Prince Charles?
Of the of the UK. He said that if he could be reincarnated, he'd come back as a virus to wipe out a large segment of humanity, because the West, the capitalist and liberal Western liberals promote the idea of overpopulation, so that if we could
no, but I'm not trying to wipe out everybody because we are overpopulated. I'm trying to wipe you all out because you're assholes. Different thing.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, if the U.S. if the U.S. was ever occupied, I'd be like the Hmong people and the I'd be a translator. I'd be pointing shit out.
I'd be working.
I'd be the worst trader. I'd change my name to Benedict.
Translating to human for them.
Like, yo, this is where everything is. You know, that's where the traps are. Yeah, if a foreign power ever invaded the U.S., I'd be like the Afghanis trying to escape Afghanistan.
I'm telling you,
he cooperated. He was translating, pointing shit out, naming names.
I'll cooperate the hell out of cooperation. You know,
right?
I'll be the aliens' favorite human. Oh my God, I'm going to kiss some alien ass.
Anyway, I don't even care. There was it don't have to be aliens. There was a long time that they thought Cuba was going to invade the United States. There's a whole movie called Red Dawn about Cubans and the Russians invading the United States and taking over. I would cooperate with the Cubans.
Man, Hollywood. You know, people forget how much Hollywood is all government propaganda and how everybody in that industry is just furthering an agenda and a narrative that is leading us continuously to destroy the world, you know, rationalizing every act, you know.
Yeah. It's
crazy. And everything is based on fear and fantasy, you know, it's crazy.
All right.
Yeah, but he's talking about the Gates Foundation's attempt to bribe Nigerian officials to pass. Well, I've not really heard about this, but what I know for sure is that, you know, I don't want you guys to think that the Gates Foundation is some kind of extraordinary evil. No, they are just as evil as everybody they met on the playing field. You know, there's nothing extraordinary about Bill Gates. It's the same product of the imperialist system, and it does exactly what the people he made there done what they do. I mean, if you Google Pfizer in Nigeria, I mean they also tested some meningitis drugs on Nigerian babies in the north, you know, who had done nothing, and we lost a few
No, I'm here. I just have to go close these windows because I'm freezing.
Yeah.
It's gotten a lot
Okay.
colder. I'm just going to close a couple of windows. Continue. I'll be right back.
Yeah. So a few dozen babies were killed in Kano by Pfizer testing some drugs on them that was not approved. You know, so things like this happen in Africa all the time. I don't think the gates are the only ones responsible. And when we say that, we minimize the level of corruption and that the pharmaceutical companies of Europe and America have in Africa. I mean, not only their pharmaceutical companies, all their companies, but we can talk about the pharmacy, big pharma in this case. Yeah. So yeah, the Gates is not the only one bribing Nigerian officials on this issue. You know, big pharma, you know, are also quite involved. So the Pfizer's, the Moderna's, the GlaxoSmithKline, whatever, all of them are involved in cutting corners and testing on African children.
You know what blows
of their African puppets.
You know what blows my mind a lot here in the West? You have a lot of people who think Bill Gates is Lex Luthor, like the most evil man in the world, and people hate Bill Gates, but a lot of them support capitalism. And
exactly, I don't understand it.
That blows my mind. Like, they hate these individuals, but they hate the very system that created them, that allows them to be those individuals. And so a lot of people that attack me for advocating for socialism also talk about Bill Gates as the most evil entity, as if just his evil is what makes him so bad. And it's not his overabundance of wealth that is the reason that what makes his capacity to do evil. It blows my mind how so many pro-capitalist people hate Bill Gates. You know,
and because they feel that they can be better capitalists than him. You know, I think
they can be benevolent capitalists like Jay-Z.
Yeah, you know, yeah.
How do you feel about Chinese investment in Nigeria?
Well, you know, I think the Chinese are really brave, you know, trying to come into Africa and find something. I'm sure the Europeans are just like, let us see what you can find. You know, Africa has already been, you know, Africa is already largely owned by Europeans, you know, so the Chinese investment in Nigeria and largely in Africa is due to the decline of economic prosperity in Europe, whereby the Europeans themselves, through their African studies, are selling off all those things that they feel that they can no longer, you know, contain or control or invest in, you know, because a lot of European societies need to hold on to a lot of their own money right now to placate their societies. I mean, look at the yellow vest protest in France. How many times has Macron been slapped now? You know, so we have these issues generally, even in America. I mean, when you have 74 million Americans voting for Trump, and Biden is trying to tell me that we are in a post-racial society, and Obama, you know, one has to like, And, you know, this is because American prosperity is declining rapidly. You know, the poor white people of America are not able to survive and raise their families on the income that they are getting. I mean, even right now, a lot of Europeans are refusing to work. You know, there was a shortage of petrol last month in England, because there were no truck drivers to drive the petrol to the filling stations. You know, so there's a decline in European and American prosperity. You know, so they are the ones selling some of their assets, you know, and there's no way, and the American government will sell assets in Nigeria to the Chinese without the Nigerian government being involved, you know, and so on and so on. In the whole, you know, the oil companies in Nigeria have been divesting from the downstream sector of the oil industry for years, and you find the Chinese coming into that sector. You know, so many of these sectors the Chinese people are going into in Africa are those sectors that the Europeans are divesting from due to their own lack of booty, how would I put it, loot, you know, to manage these things anymore. You know, so yeah, I think that's what's going on. None of these things are investments. You know, imperialism is imperialism in any shape it comes. You know, the Chinese have a different model for sure from the Europeans. You know, which they call the mutual benefit and mutual development, whatever they call it. you know. And their whole agenda is, we build for you with Chinese workers, and you pay us back what we used to build it for you, or we come back and we take the shit. But at least the Chinese people are making sure it gets built. I think this is what is different between the Chinese and the Europeans. In the Europeans' development model, that the Europeans just pay some bribes to make sure it is not built. But none of them works for African people, because if we are building Africa, we need to use African labor, because that is how African people are going to be uplifted out of poverty. We live in nations with high human capital, high resources, and underdevelopment, meaning we can use our resources to incentivize our people to develop our country. And this incentive is nothing more than lifting them out of poverty, through our resources, and using that to develop our country. So we have a good relationship that we can build on economically. But when we have foreign players like the Chinese, and even local players like Dangote willing to employ foreign labor in a country where we have huge deficit in employment numbers, the Nigerian youth are largely unemployed. Incredible figures are being released by the Bureau of Statistics in Nigeria. Sometimes they say 40%, sometimes up to 60%. But what we know for a fact is that over 80% of Nigerians live in poverty. We need these jobs to raise these people out of poverty. So how can we live in a country where all these people need these jobs and foreigners are coming in to take jobs? Not even the low-paying jobs. We find that the high-end jobs in Africa are also pawned out to European and American expatriates. Where you have people coming from Europe and America to do these high-end jobs that Africans are supposedly not good enough for, and there are no programs to train us for that. So investment in Nigeria is nothing but exploitation. Especially when we don't need said investment if we concentrate on developing ourselves, be it Chinese or European. What I don't like is the way people are talking about the Chinese as if they are worse than the Europeans in some kind of anti-Chinese propaganda by the Europeans. So for me, that is not the Chinese are not worse than the Europeans. It is the same thing they are doing, and we as Africans must be ready to and willing to resist it or not. If we are not willing to, let us get away. And I read an article one time in one of the biggest newspapers in the country where they are saying, "Oh, the Chinese are coming to take over Nigeria." I'm like, what are they going to take over? Our currency, which is already European, our oil already European, our education already European, our religion Arabic and European. What are they coming for? What is left? I'm searching for what the Chinese are really coming to control here.
I get in trouble because there's like a cult of capitalism brewing in the Black community, where Black entrepreneurs is seen as saints, and this myth that Black entrepreneurialism will save us, and they talk about how the Black elites and wealthy Blacks can invest in the Black community, and I try to explain to people
with what money?
There's some wealthy Negroes. There's some Negroes that got plantation money in this country. There's some Black dynasties here, the Negro elites, the Black bourgeoisie as they were called. But the issue with the concept is, under capitalism, investment means minimum input with maximum extraction. If someone is investing in your community or your culture or your country, they are literally trying to put in as little as possible to extract as much as possible. You're not a good investor if you are putting more into something than you get out. So investing is a losing game. They just opened a Walmart here in my hood, and the aldermen and the local politicians came to the ribbon cutting, and they were all celebrating. And for every job or even every dollar that Walmart puts in, they're taking out thousands of dollars, not just out of the community, out of the city, out of the state. Walmart doesn't pay taxes. They don't build up infrastructures, and they don't even leave a viable structure when they vacate a place. So there's this notion that Black people can engage in capitalism and outcompete our oppressors in the system, and they even ignore the fact that the very concept of investment means put in little and take out a lot. And the most successful capitalists are the ones who put in the least and extract the most. And if you put in more than you take out, so to ask for investment in your community is literally asking for exploitation of your community.
Exactly, and that's why here Nigerian government African government in general only always talk about foreign investment, because they survive on that exploitation, of their people, And when you talk about, some black people with money in America, Diallo, I think you are falling for the okie doke. The richest black man in the world is from Nigeria, man. You're in that shit.
I know that. But we
black
got
people ain't got no money. I don't care what these entrepreneurs say, how many private jets they have, what they think they ain't got no money. Because I know the richest black man in the world is Nigeria. And I see how he operates, and I know he ain't got no money. So, so everybody behind him also ain't got no money. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly.
Well,
because having money that cannot translate to power to do things.
Right.
When you have money to only buy things, then you have no money.
Right. They have fiat. They don't have the means of production. They don't have infrastructure. Exactly. It's like Michael Jordan, who's a billionaire, and whereas Philip Knight, the CEO of Nike, owns shipping companies. He owns factories and infrastructures and natural and raw resources. And
Jordan has his picture on the shoe.
Exactly.
Come on, man.
Well, right, but he doesn't have the means of production, and I try to explain that.
Pictures on the shoe, though.
That's why I like to say rich blacks, not wealthy blacks, because to try to draw that distinction between the black bourgeoisie or the so-called black elite and the true elites. But anyway,
yeah, exactly. The black elites, until they also go around conquering places and winning new markets for us, right. We cannot call them elites. You need to win some new markets. Go on, man. Win us some markets. Go get us some new markets. Free some markets for us black people. Then we know that you are an elite. You have to get some free markets for black people.
Well, the elites don't operate on behalf of their people. Not even the white elites don't operate on behalf of.
But they operate on behalf of the white elite, at least.
Yes.
At least they operate. This is where they are different from us. Our elites operate for them as well. Our elites don't even have the balls to operate for the black elite,
because they're not. They're pseudo
elites.
Right. They're not
exactly.
real.
That's what I'm saying. They need to win some free markets.
Right.
They ain't got no free markets. As soon as they got some free markets, we're in business.
That's only okay. I'm skipping questions now because we're getting late. I want to get. Let's ask. This is a good one. What is the legacy of Ken Saro-Wiwa and his fight against big oil polluters? Are young Nigerians taking up the struggle against corporations and their acts of environmental degradation in the country?
Well, personally speaking, I don't really like to talk a lot about Ken Saro-Wiwa because he's kind of a how do I put it? He's an interesting character, but maybe it's also someone that goes to the extent of showing how much, like Che Guevara, the capacity of the human spirit to change into something new. But I wasn't really given a chance to know if that is true or not. Right. Yeah, but I think Nigerian people do not really understand that they're being exploited. You understand what I'm saying to you? Because since Ken Saro-Wiwa has died, many of the Niger Delta youths have raised arms in defense of themselves and the exploitation of their community. And many of them have negotiated with the government and become billionaires and ignored the same people that they said that they were fighting for. Many Niger Delta youths have become multi-millionaires in dollars, driving Rolls Royce all across the country and flying private jets. And none of them can point to schools or hospitals or whatever that they've built in those communities that they claim to be fighting for, and that the government brought them to the table, gave them huge contracts to protect the same installations that they said they were blowing up before. So for me, as I said, until we as African people understand the necessity of socializing our resources, because we are all still trapped in this individualistic capitalist mindset, held up with the belief of Jesus Christ or Muhammad, on how special we are and how we are going to be the ones to make it and break the generational curses of our families, generally rise out of poverty because we are special, because Jesus has said so, because Muhammad has said so, and we believe that we are also going to be given an opportunity to exploit our people or tap into the largesse of the oppressors. And many people believe this, and this is the reason why this system still perpetuate. All you have to do in Nigeria is throw some little money around the celebrities, have everybody singing your praise, and no matter the atrocities you are committed to the Nigerian people, it's okay. As long as you are getting your money and throwing some change around. And so we as mainland people need to move further than this in the struggle. Not even about the Niger Delta. Our environment is being destroyed everywhere. Desert encroachment in northern Nigeria. The entire Lake Chad has almost dried up, and that Lake Chad basically is the nerve, like the Nile River in Egypt and Sudan is the nerve, and Ethiopia is the nerve of the entire Sahel region. Here in northwest Nigeria and Chad and Niger and all these countries where Lake Chad goes into, but due to the environmental degradation and also climate change, this river is drying up, and this whole area is being desertified, meaning that land that used to be arable are now becoming desert land, so people cannot even grow food and sustain themselves, which is putting more pressure on the cities, creating more crime and all of that. So, it is not only the Niger Delta militants. To a certain extent, Boko Haram has been also created by this environmental disaster in northern Nigeria. So it is something that we are all going through. But whether we understand the fight, the struggle that we must have, or what we are doing is personal, is yet to manifest itself. We don't know yet. But I hope that we understand that we must struggle for the collective good and not for the individual benefit of certain people. That is very important.
All right. We're going to just press through the next. Hi, guys. Seun, how can we get African youth to embrace their African identity? And do you feel our lack of identity has been a major cause in our underdevelopment of the African continent?
I don't think African youth find it hard to embrace African identity. I think what matters is that the government, the educational institutions, many of the influencers sell a false identity to African youth as the African identity. And you understand? I think that is what is going on here. I think the young African people are always receptive to African ideas, African symbols, and African culture. But it is because we misrepresent this culture most of the time to them, and many people just sell people Judeo-Christian, Arabic culture and influences warped in Pan-Africanist garb, Even to a certain extent, the majority of so-called African music today is nothing but hip-hop, pop music, dressed in African garb. And so this from the continent and stuff like that. Even though for me all African music is the same, I really don't see the differences. But in terms of identity, things like that, this is generally what we see ourselves as. More and more, and identity politics for me is not really as positive as many people think it should be, because identity is so fluid these days. Ideology is what I believe in. I believe that people, if they have the right ideology, then they can determine. You can easily determine what their identity is.
I'm sorry.
From their ideology, because people don't have strong ideologies, especially based around Pan-Africanism. Erica, is that Erica? The head of the house is home. Oh, you're so beautiful.
I just want to say hi.
How you married this man, I do not know. I do not know.
I've been following you and your wife and beautiful baby.
And thank you once more for the book.
He's frozen.
Oh,
I'm
he's.
gonna make our food.
I was telling you, he
Oh,
stole
thank you,
when he came
Erica,
over here
thank
and
you.
stole some books.
He didn't steal any books. He stole our books.
I stole
Yes.
nothing.
I bet he
I
did.
stole nothing.
I'm gonna defend him still. I'm Team Shay.
I'm sorry. She came and told me
It's
dinner
good
was
to see
ready.
the head of the house. It's good to see the head of the house back.
We're in an
I
African
believe to
family.
be
This
live.
is
Why you just going rogue?
there's no hierarchy here.
Exactly. That's what you say because you are not the head. You know.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So for me, ideology is everything. That I learned in detail. You know, over identity, over representation. You know, I want ideology, and that is what I really look for in instilling strong Pan-Africanist ideologies in young African people. That's what matters, you know, and that will lead them to embrace and also discover the work that they need to do to update the African culture. You know, because I said, and Diallo has said, culture should work for the people, tradition should work for the people. We, the people, just like religious people are defending God. No, that your God should defend you. That is how it should be, you know, and so we need young people to be able to be inspired enough to see Africa as their own responsibility, and that's what matters. For them to see Africa as their responsibility, that can only come from strong Pan-Africanist identity, ideology. You know, so let's work more on their ideology than their identity. You know, they have a strong enough ideology, the identity will fall into place.
So Roz states, so vaccine is a remedy for poor people who can't afford the wealthy vegan lifestyle.
No, yes, well, Diallo. Exactly. Tell us, Diallo.
Well, I became a vegan back in '92 when I lived in abject poverty, lived in the projects on food stamps. I don't know where this myth that veganism is something for the wealthy or for the elite when it's actually a more affordable lifestyle.
But fruits are very expensive in Africa, bro.
Yeah, I'm very careful to
you know, you use your first world access to farmers markets and what was that bourgeois shop you go to all the time? This white only, what was it called? Oh my God,
Whole Foods?
This Amazon store. Whole Foods, you know. Everybody, Diallo is always in Whole Foods acting white, y'all.
No, not anymore. You know? Not since Bezos took over. I used to...
So, you know, in Africa, I think, you know, people just eat to survive here. Yeah. We don't have the capacity to say, a lot of us don't have the capacity to say we are vegan. Trust me, you just die of hunger.
Right.
I told you that already.
Again, where you talk about issues such as deforestation and stuff, but I did a whole talk. If you want to check, I did this. I talked about my position on the vax. History repeats from Tuskegee to the COVID pandemic, so I'm not going to keep rehashing it. What my position, I've articulated it, and I've taken all the anger and hateration from the paranoid people. So that's it. So anyway, I think we come to. Oh wow!
I think people are bugging right now. So if you don't want to take the vaccine, don't take it and shut the fuck up. If you want to take the vaccine, take it and shut the fuck up. I think if everybody just did that, regardless of what they said on the news, regardless of what the celebrities say, regardless of the politics, I think, you know, humanity will overcome this pandemic. But the reason that everybody just feels that they have to come out and tell us their vaccine opinion, you know, especially when we are not interested. You know, I have Google. I can investigate everything I want about the vaccine, you know, and moreover, you know, even doctors can be trusted. Give me a second. So I was.
All right. Well, it's my position that I've never told anyone. I've never used the word.
I gave a friend of mine this book to read as well, you know, to really know what is going on in the world of medical practice. One has to read this book.
Right.
It's really awesome. So for me, medicine, the practice of medicine is the sale of drugs. It's not about human wellness anymore. So we have to find the right balance. I think I have about 3% left on my phone battery. So
okay.
If I go off, it's my phone.
Okay. One more question then. How can Africans invoke a revolution to wipe out colonial gatekeepers from the continent without bloodshed?
This is awesome. This is an awesome question. We have to organize politically because bloodshed is, as Frantz Fanon said, we must not put into consideration violence or non-violence. We must allow things to happen how they will, and if things will become violent, things will become violent. We must not put it on ourselves to say, oh, we will not shed blood. That is not for us. Whether there will be blood to be shed in Africa or not is not as a result of the people organizing. It will be as a result of the resistance of the elites to the people organizing. You understand? If the elites and the government and the oppressors of Africa will play fair and allow the people to organize without interfering, there definitely will be no bloodshed. We will meet at the ballot boxes, we will do our elections, we will defeat them and kick them out. There will be no single blood spill. But the fact that they know that as soon as African people start organizing, that it is the end of
as oppressors in Africa, then you see that they will start. Where's the word I'm looking for? They'll start becoming violent and attacking us and trying to reduce our political potency. And this is why we as African people must resist and reject that. By any means necessary, as Malcolm X said. So for me, it's not that we are saying it's going to be with or without bloodshed. We are saying we have to be willing to do whatever it takes. I, for one, am not a violent person. But as Frantz Fanon also pointed out, anytime people talk about violence, I like to discuss Frantz Fanon because he really went into detail about this. So even in modern so-called modern societies, human blood is constantly being used to protect and appease the land. When people are put to death by law, it's an appeasement of those people that were hurt and the land in general. So blood spilling is a part of power from time immemorial. But we as motherland people, we must, as much as possible, value the sanctity of African life and not put things deliberately in process that will lead to bloodshed. But we must also understand that our freedom is paramount and we must be willing to put anything on the line to get it. So our duty is to organize ourselves as African people, politically, ideologically, to confront our oppressors, and confront them on the battlefield of ideas, and I'm sure that as soon as we begin to do that, that's the first step to our own liberation. Now, however the oppressors respond to that is on them.
Right. I appreciate you, brother. It was good. I think this is our longest conversation in some time. I've been missing you, and the pandemic definitely threw us off a bit, but now I think we're coming back on. And of course, you have an open invitation here at the BroDiallo Q&A because there's so much we didn't get to and so much we didn't cover. I had to skip a few questions just to try to get to some of the most pertinent ones. But I'll let you go because I know it's really late. It's like 2 a.m. over there. So appreciate you. Any closing words as you exit?
Yeah, we have to Pan-Africanize and revolutionize ourselves. Let's go.
Oh, it's breaking up. Say that one more time.
Did you hear me?
No. Say it again.
I said we need to Pan-Africanize and revolutionize.
All right.
Let's go.
All right, bro. I'll talk to you soon. You have a good evening or good morning. And I definitely appreciate you coming and staying up.
Now
late
go
for
make
us.
Erica.
Okay.
She's been working hard. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Good night, bro. All right. Thank you for everyone who checked in with us, and we'll be back Monday. Monday, we're going to talk about the evolution of Black leadership, the evolution of how whether the leaders make the movements or the movements make the leaders. So we're going to talk about that on Monday, BroDiallo radio broadcast. And I appreciate everyone for tuning in. If you like this type of content, please support, like, share, subscribe, and support in via Patreon, Cash App to help keep me motivated and sustained in my media efforts. I appreciate y'all, and y'all have a good evening, and we'll see y'all Monday morning. Peace.